It's the Funny Comics Fan Club.
Hello and welcome to the Funny Comics Fan Club with me, Dr. Mark Hibbett.
And me, not Dr. John Dredge.
So, John, I've been thinking about this.
Yeah?
I think it's unfair to highlight the fact that you do not have a PhD like what I do.
That is slightly unfair. When you put it directly like that, it is blatantly unfair.
It's not fair that I have a PhD.
No.
And you...
What is it you have again? What is it?
PhD, yeah.
Okay.
Comics.
I don't even have a DHP. I've got nothing.
So I thought maybe you could have a different title.
Okay, what's that?
Vice Admiral or something. Or...
Admiral Viceroy of Comics.
That would be good. I like that.
I don't know what it means, but it sounds important.
It sounds important. Well, it sounds...
Admiral Viceroy. I like
Admiral
that.
Viceroy. So,
let's do that.
I'm Dr. Mark Hibbett, and I'm with Admiral Viceroy John Dredge.
Yo ho!
You're leaning into it. I like it.
Yeah, that sounded a bit like the Penguin actually out of Batman, didn't it? He says yo ho quite a lot.
He does. I never thought of that.
In the Batman movie, he says yo ho several times.
I wonder if the hard-hitting, grim and gritty Penguin series currently coming out on DC, will he come on and go yo ho?
He should do.
I think he should,
just for a bit of light relief.
I think we'd need it for that.
Yeah, we do. There's only so dark you can get with it.
But talking of light relief, Joe.
Talking of happy, cheerful fun and laughter.
What are we looking at this time?
The Topper.
The Topper and Sparky. Lots of fun. Two comics in one.
Yeah. Did this happen? You probably don't know this, but you are meant to be a doctor of comics, as you keep going on about. I mean, does this mean that this two comics in one thing, was it before or after Whizzer and Chips?
This was before Whizzer and Chips.
This was before?
Yeah. Well, because...
What, you mean Topper and Sparky was before Whizzer and Chips?
Yes.
Huh.
Because comics, for a long, long time, British weekly comics would merge together. So you'd often get comics, it'd be something and something else.
But Chips wasn't anything before
Chips wasn't, no.
That was the sort of concept of it.
Yeah, so it was brought out immediately as that. But I didn't realise, I always thought when it was Topper and Sparky, I always thought it was like Whizzer and Chips.
Ah,
but Sparky was a real comic.
Sparky was a comic, and we could look at that actually in the future. Have a look at that.
We certainly could,
because we clearly don't know anything about it.
No, well, I thought it wasn't, because if you look at the logo for Sparky, it looks like somebody spent about 3 seconds thinking about it.
Yeah, and when you look at the pull-out of Sparky inside, it doesn't look particularly
real. Is that the word you're looking for?
It doesn't look particularly substantial.
No, it doesn't. No,
it looks fairly basic and thin. So, yeah, I was surprised as well to see that was a comic beforehand.
Yeah, because people who don't know, so the Topper is massive. The Topper is basically the size of a broadsheet newspaper.
And this is what I liked about it. I really like this huge-sized comic because you can really see the detail, and it's quite fun to see something of that size.
Yeah, and
it's really easy to see what's going on.
It is easy to see what's going on.
I mean, when you get to my age, you do need glasses and magnifying glasses as well, and telescopes and periscopes.
Well, when you're a Admiral Viceroy, then a periscope would be your preferred choice of magnification.
Yo-ho.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But I think that's right. Well, I mean, the first strip we look at, which is called Danny's Tranny.
That's on the front page. For the benefit of the tape, it's every Thursday this came out. And the one we're looking at is from November the 26th, 1977. All the way back to 77, music lovers. 7p.
7p.
So, not bad. Better than 9 shillings, whatever the hell TV comic was. 9 pence.
9 old pence.
This is 7 old pence. So is it 7 new pence?
This is 7 new pence.
New pence by now, I'm sorry. Yeah. We've got metric by now.
Welcome to the Coins podcast.
The Coins, yeah. So on the front page, there's a sort of little trailer for one of the comic strips. It says, "Who loves your baby? Who loves your baby? Not PC Cedric for a start." And we see a woman bashing PC Cedric with an umbrella. She's got a baby with her in a pram. It says, "Find out more in L Cars inside." "Who loves your baby" was the catchphrase of whom in 1977?
Was it My Uncle Brian?
No, it was Telly Savalas in Kojak.
Oh, of course it was.
Kojak was the biggest thing going in 1977, apart from Starsky and Hutch.
And My Uncle Brian.
And Your Uncle Brian. But yeah, I thought that was quite a nice little trailer for the thing. So, but then on the other side of the front page, we've got another trailer. It says, "Metal Wellies? Hurry to page 15 and see what's afoot." And then you've got a picture of this kid with buckets on his feet. instead of Wellington boots.
Yeah.
But that is the giveaway for the punchline for the strip that it's sort of about inside.
Yeah, the strip is called Nobby, I think.
Yeah, and that picture is like the giveaway of the joke.
It's the punchline of the entire strip, isn't it?
And it's on the front. It's like when I bought Planet of the Apes DVD, and the Statue of Liberty was on the front. I'm sorry, actually, we better cut that out. We better cut that out just in case nobody knows what Planet of the Apes is that listens to this.
We haven't said what the punchline is, have you? You haven't said what the
No,
punchline is.
They all wander around in buckets.
Clank, you did it. Clunk.
Yeah.
You finally did it.
And off go the horses clanking around. Anyway, back to Topper and, of course, Sparky. Don't forget Sparky, wherever you may be. So Danny's Tranny's on the front here in a nice, colourful strip.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and it looks gorgeous, doesn't it? Because the detail on this and the colour, it feels really it's like the American Sunday Funnies.
Yeah.
Because it looks gorgeous and detailed and really quite lush.
Yeah.
And betrays the fact that it's actually a load of old rubbish.
Well, I don't know. I remember this character. It says here, young Danny Wilson owns a super marvellous transistor radio. It really is super marvellous. With it, he can make objects larger, smaller, lighter than air, or even invisible. However, the fantastic effects of the Tranny's rays last only for a short time. That's sad, isn't it? A bit sad.
It is sad, but as we find out during the story, it's a good job. Because he's incredibly irresponsible with this mighty beast of technology, isn't he?
Well, in the story, Danny sees this plane and 3 skydivers skydive out of it. Is that what they do? Skydive out?
I believe they did skydive into the skydive centre.
There's no centre, I'm afraid. But one of them's about to hit a bus, one of these skydivers. So Danny presses a button on his tranny and he says, the lighter than air ray will lift him out of danger. That sounds like another cartoon character, lighter than air ray. But anyway, he says, he presses the button and then the descriptive term wind can be seen here. He said, hopefully that's from the...
It does look like it could be misinterpreted, doesn't it?
It could be interpreted in a number of ways, but he says, now let's hope he floats to safety. I'm not sure who he's talking to here, but anyway, talking to somebody. And then it continues. Now, in comics, as we all know, there's a lot of descriptive terms. Whoosh, splat, and bang, for example. Here, we have a really strong gust of wind. I wonder what that could mean. So anyway, we know what's happening, if nothing else. Crumbling crumpets, that's what he says. There's no knowing where he might end up now that that wind's got him. Again, just talking to nobody. But then he I don't know, he just sort of makes things disappear or makes things bigger and smaller and that sort of thing.
It does, but then the payoff for the whole
payoff is crap.
The payoff is awful because all this does happen. So basically what's happening is somebody's trying to land and he keeps making things bigger, smaller, lighter than air. The man gets attacked by some giant crows and then goes, oh no, now he's plummeting to his death. And then just at that moment, when this man is plummeting to his death, this other kid turns up and says, do you want a marshmallow?
Phew, just in time. Crumbling crumpets.
Crumbling crumpets.
So he gets the marshmallow and he says, I'll have one of these, but not for eating. He presses his radio button and then the marshmallow is enlarged, becomes giant sized. So the skydiver lands on this giant marshmallow. He seems fairly happy with the whole arrangement, you know, not surprised in any way.
No, I mean,
about this unusual eventuality. But then it says, in all the excitement, Danny had forgotten to switch off the growing ray. And then for some reason this makes him fall off the giant marshmallow into a puddle.
But that's the end, isn't it?
That is the end,
man falls off into a puddle.
Yeah.
The end.
It's not a satisfactory conclusion.
It's not a satisfactory start or middle either, is it?
No, so...
But again, I think the thing with this strip is it's yet another one of these where it looks great.
It looks brilliant.
Fabulous.
It looks absolutely great.
But the story's absolute drivel.
It is
from start to finish, isn't it?
And yet this character's on the cover and he's been going for a long time.
Yeah,
hell of a
long time, yeah. And I think the interesting about it is like there's quite a few strips in Topper that are like this, where it feels like it's being pulled in two directions. Like it feels like it's meant to be quite an old-fashioned adventure story about a boy with an amazing device.
Yeah.
It's something like from the 50s and the 60s or something.
Yeah.
But then it's sort of being pulled towards being a comedy strip. It hasn't quite got there yet.
Yeah,
really.
absolutely. No, it's not quite funny.
No. But I think a much better example of exactly that is on the next page.
For the benefit of the tape, I'm turning over the page. Hey, look at this. You've got 2 pages of Send for Kelly, and with the tabloid size, it just looks great.
It's astonishing.
It's huge. It's vast, and that would have been an exciting thing as a kid.
And it's drawn by George Martin, who we've seen lots of other stuff by before. And he really expands out into, and like with TV comic that we looked at last week, that was a slightly bigger comic that had crammed more panels in to fit. But this is a much bigger comic where actually there's much fewer panels than in the normal size one. And it looks wonderful, doesn't it? It's such fun to look at.
And now you can look on our Facebook page or on our Twitter page and you can follow along with us. Yeah.
Read along with John.
Yeah. In brackets and Mark in further brackets, PhD, very small print. So
double close brackets.
Yeah. This is, so it says here, Nick Kelly and Cedric are well and truly baffled. They're not the only ones. Having twice pursued an escaping robber into the local swimming baths or baths, as you might say. They lost him on each occasion when he completely disappeared, not partially, completely disappeared after taking a dive into the pool. That's the story so far. I looked at a few other ones of this Send for Kelly, and like some of the stories so far bits are just, they're huge. But this is fairly basic.
But it's amazing, isn't it? Because it is like an event. It's a continuing adventure. So it is like the old adventure strips where they go, previously this had happened. But it's very silly.
It's like Dick Barton, but a silly version.
It is like Dick Barton, yeah.
I used to really love Inspector characters. I still do. You know where you are straight away with that sort of character, don't you? You know what's going on.
Some inspecting will happen.
Yeah, there'll be some investigation going on. Mm-hmm. As opposed to a strip like Sports Fan where nothing goes on. Something goes on. And I like that. I love the artwork.
I love the fact that there's a panel right at the start where Cedric, his assistant, goes to the swimming baths and he's got his swimming gear rolled up in a little towel. Like you're used to in the old days. He's got his rolled up towel in his arm. It's lovely.
He's organised, isn't he? And what I also like about this strip is there's two uses of the word irk in panel 5 and panel 17 or something. I don't know. But it's always good to see the word irk because you don't really see it elsewhere. This looks good, and there's all sorts of interesting action going on. For example, there's flooding and people being blown backwards by a load of water, and then
because what happens is Cedric goes in the swimming pool. He finds a button which opens an airlock, but because the door to the airlock's open to the other side, as soon as it opens, all this water floods out. But I really like the fact there's a panel where Cedric's swimming underwater in his swimming costume, and he finds, what does it say? Cedric has found a tile coloured differently from the rest, and you look at it and you go, has he? And you think if you really look really hard, it's a very slightly different shade of pink.
Yeah, it's not like purple or something, or massively hugely green. It's just very well, it's very hard to tell what it is. You have to be a detective to know what that is.
Yeah, or a
find
assistant in his case.
Well, yes.
Although maybe
promotion, maybe
because this comic is, how old is this comic? This is like nearly 50 years old. This comic.
Happy birthday to you.
Maybe 50 years ago, when this comic was first printed, that panel was white. And now it's got the same kind of salmony pink as everything else, which merges in.
You could be right. But what I found out, even though I liked it, it's fun. What's happening is fun. The story is cool and the characters are great. But there's no actual jokes in this strip.
I suppose not. It's quite jolly, isn't it?
It's jolly and fun.
Yeah.
And interesting. But there's no actual jokes.
No. So it is, again, it's an adventure story.
It's an adventure
story. That looks like a comedy one.
But he was obviously quite a big star in this comic. In fact, he was on the cover for a while, wasn't he?
Yes, he was, yeah.
Because he is also the bloke that you write to for the letters page.
Which, let's be clear, Topper has a letters page on the TV comic.
We can't really compare the two. I mean, TV comic just had no letters page whatsoever.
Nothing at all.
This one, you've got Kelly's Corner. It says here, send in your favourite story or puzzle or anything at all.
Please.
Sounds slightly desperate, doesn't it? It says here, send anything at all, which is your own work and which you think will interest Topper readers. and then you might well get a prize. So you get a list of different prizes. It says here, then mention your 2 favourite stories and your least favourite story in the topper. That's what we're going to be doing.
That's a classic. Yeah, so maybe what prize will we win then?
Well, there's one that you've got a choice of prizes
Oh.
here. Super skipping rope, and not quite as good skipping rope, and then one that doesn't work. And you got, what else here? 120 assorted foreign stamps.
Oh, that sounds good.
So yeah, a number of prizes if you write in, and so it might be worthwhile writing in.
And you also get, if they go, this is no interest to anybody, you get a consolation prize, don't you?
You do, and that is a sew-on consolation badge.
Not much consolation, is
Not
there?
really, no. But at least you get something.
Yeah, well, it's nice. They're so desperate for anybody to send anything. All you have to do is just send anything at all.
Send us anything, we'll print it. That is what we say. And so there's a few good jokes, or certainly there's a few you can understand. Some not quite as understandable, but this one I could certainly understand. What do you think, Mark? What travels through space wearing a long scarf and is good in sticky situations? What do you reckon? You've only got 30 seconds.
What travels through space?
What travels through space wearing a long scarf and is good in sticky situations?
Oh, is it Dr. Glue?
Dr. Glue is the answer, yeah.
Oh,
And you
goodness.
win a super skipping rope. Not much use to you nowadays, is it?
A skipping rope that doesn't work will be great, because at least it won't make you feel bad.
You can have that. There's loads of them.
That's
there.
great.
John, do you like animals?
Yes, what about it?
Then you'll love Whimsies.
Will I? What are they?
They're 35 super little animals, made in real porcelain to collect and keep.
Gee,
And more to come.
more?
You will find them in, all good toy and gift shops or branches of Balls and Finleys. All branches of Balls and Finleys.
That can't be the name of the shop. Gordon Bennett, it's such small writing on this thing. But it might be Boots and Finley's.
How much are they? Hang on, how does that say?
The print is unbelievably small, listeners.
From around 6p each.
Gee, not too bad.
Wade.
Thanks, Whimsies.
Moving swiftly backwards in a comic, what do you think? Should we go to page 2?
Let's look at page 2, Beryl the Peril.
So this, now I thought this must be a rip-off of Minnie the Minx. It ain't.
It ain't.
It
no.
ain't.
It's
Because
not.
this appeared before Minnie the Minx.
And it was created by Davy Law, the same guy who created Dennis the Menace.
Did someone else create Minnie the Minx?
I think Leo Baxendale created Minnie the Minx.
So, okay, so that's weird. You would have thought that the guy that invented Dennis the Menace would go on to invent Minnie the Minx, but no, Beryl the Peril in a different comic.
He did, because if you look at Beryl here, on the first panel, the picture of Beryl that is underneath Beryl the Peril, the logo, she looks quite Dennisy because she's got a big nose and a smile is hidden on behind the nose like Dennis's is
Yeah.
in those early ones.
I mean, is there a difference between her and Minnie the Minx, do you think?
Yeah, I think so, because they did feel quite different characters, because Minnie's like sort of naughty and Beryl's just continually getting into scrapes.
Beryl is psychotic, going by this comic.
Because there's this brilliant bit, isn't there? I love the fact that she's just sitting on watching telly and she's got her legs up on the arms of the sofa like a kid. And her dad says, "Stop watching telly." He says, "Come and help me lay the new carpet tiles."
That's the sort of thing that I used to have to do.
Yeah.
We all used to have to do when we were kids. We weren't allowed to sit around watching TV. We had to go and help with some mindless chores.
So, I mean, I really like this. I think it's really fun. It's really it's actually well written. The comic timing is great because there's a bit where it shows she's forced to go and help her dad lay the tiles. And brilliantly, she's just standing with her back to him, looking around the corner, watching telly.
Which is what you would do.
Which is what you would do. Her dad says, "Hand me the trimming knife, Belle." And she goes, "Here you are," crump, and stabs him in the bum.
I don't think you would get that these days.
I don't think you would.
A knife being stabbed into your father's rear end. I don't think that would happen nowadays, would it?
I used to stab my father in the rear end, and it didn't do me any harm.
No, it did him
hit
some
harm. Yeah.
If you're listening at home, which you probably are, if you can hear me saying this, It's on page 2. You can read along and see the violence inherent in these systems.
It's massive violence, isn't it? But then
It's like worse than Tom and Jerry.
it is because it's his
Stabbing.
actual violence. She stabs him in the bum with a knife.
Yeah.
But then it's great because she gets this tile stuck to her feet. She tries to get away. It's fantastic. And then, I mean, the only thing is, it's so much fun and it looks so great. The comic timing of it is brilliant. It's lovely. So then it's just a bit weird at the end where her dad, who seems all right, she's
just been speared.
He's just been speared with an actual knife, with a standing knife. And then she comes back and says, "Oh yeah, Dad, I've done bad, so please hit me now." It's like, what? Because it feels so exciting new, and then it's like, so Dad hits her with a slipper, and she goes, "Ha! I had a carpet tile on my skirt, so it was fine." It's like,
but there's another weird bit in this story where she's been banned from watching the TV. I was banned from watching the TV all the time. But that just made me worse. It just made me more obsessed with it. But anyway, she says, no telly, so I might as well carry on with my plastic ghoul kit. That's what you do, isn't it? If you're not watching telly, get the plastic ghoul kit and carry on with it.
Didn't we all have a plastic ghoul kit?
And it goes here, I've mislaid the fangs. I mean, that is slightly odd, isn't it? That is slightly odd.
I'll give you that. That is slightly
an element of this otherwise well-crafted story.
I'll go and ask that kid with a bag of marshmallows if he's seen it. That would do it.
But yeah, Beryl the Peril, obviously a great character.
I thought it was fantastic. I really, really, really enjoyed this.
Moving on.
Well, let's get a Sparky comic, shall we? Because
this is the pull-out.
A few in these, yeah.
Special Sparky pull-out.
So the idea of this was Sparky comic is sort of normal comic size, printed sideways, and the idea was you would extract the pages of Sparky comic, fold it over, and then you had to get a knife or something and cut this. And my question to you is, John, did you ever do that? Did you ever make the middle comic?
I don't think I did, but I think when I was in a dentist waiting room, there used to be a lot of whizzer and chips about, and quite a few kids had pulled out the chips bit and then put it back in badly. So I think a lot of kids did it, but I never did it, I don't think.
But I guess the thing with whizzer and chips was it would be quite good to share it with a sibling, because your mum was like, no, you can have this one, you can have that one.
Great idea.
That's right. But
you could do that here as well.
But it involves sharp objects, which, as we've seen,
it can lead to problems.
Can lead to extensive problems, yeah.
And violence. But yeah, so this was the pull-out, and so it's about 7 or 8 strips, or might be less than that.
It's not huge, is it?
But no.
I was surprised, because when we were looking at this, I thought, this is going to be terrible. But there's some really good stuff in this, isn't there?
Well, what have we got in here? We've got, you were looking at the Sparky people.
So the Sparky people, I have no memory of the Sparky people.
I have no memory
whatsoever.
of the Sparky.
But apparently it ran for years and years and years. And the idea was it was the editorial staff of Sparky Comic in a comic. So it's like when you have a TV show that's really, really popular, and then one of the characters, they go, let's give them a spin-off, like Joey coming out of Friends or whatever. And this is like somebody's going, I really love it in our comics normally when Ed speaks from off-page. You go, let's give Ed his own storyline. Although here, Ed continues to speak from off-page. He basically bellows instructions out to the members of the staff who work on Sparky, who I presume are based with the actual members of staff who worked in the office of Sparky.
Well, I think this cat was based on an actual cat that used to work there.
But that's Minnie the Minx's cat.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, because it's drawn by Jim Petrie, who drew Minnie the Minx and the Incredible Sulk that we've looked at.
Huh.
And I don't know, I think this is one of the wonderful things about this. I'd never thought about Jim Petrie before we started doing this. And now whenever we see his stuff, it just stands out as so exciting and vivid, and like the way he draws people's knees bouncing around. And this cat looks so exciting and fun. And there's like a janitor wanders by with a huge nose and a massive moustache. And it's also so much fun, really. It looks great.
Yeah. I mean, it's slightly odd, this story. I mean, there's a few odd bits in it. Like there's a bit where a boxing glove and a pole comes out of nowhere and smashes this bloke in the face. I mean, is he likely to have one of those?
I assume it's part of editorial policy. DC Thompson, this is a documentary after all.
Yeah, I bet they have got them. So it's quite fun. Yes, I liked it.
Because the general idea of the story is that the editor keeps bellowing out ideas for new strips. And like he says, I've just had a brilliant idea for a new story. It's about a monkey that does really funny things. and the editor says, well, the Topper's got a story like that. It's called Mickey the Monkey. But I would contest that, because the idea is for a monkey that does really funny things. The Topper has a story about a monkey, full stop.
Yes.
Nothing funny ever happens.
No, exactly. I think it's influenced by Biffo the bear and possibly Corky the cat. But yeah, I really like the idea of it, and I'll be interested to see other strips. So it's obviously pretty cool.
I really enjoyed it, yeah.
And we also have in this Sparky pullout something called L Cars, which I believe is a parody of Z Cars.
That will make sense.
It says here L Cars in Baby Bother.
Now, can I just say, a lot of these strips have titles to the stories, don't they?
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen that anywhere else.
No, that's weird, isn't it? They've actually got a title for this page.
Well, because the Sparky's People had a title.
What was the title?
The title of Sparky People was Sparky People in Unhappy Endings.
Oh, yeah, so they've got that's sort of a nice little style thing. But L Cars, it's like, you've got these two policemen, Cedric and Frederick, and then their boss says to them, that little thief, Babyface Jelson, has broken out of jail. Keep your eyes peeled on him. I was slightly confused by this story. Is Babyface Jelson a criminal who looks like a baby, or is he actually a baby? Or is he just sort of obsessed with things that are to do with babies for some reason?
It's confusing, isn't it? Yeah.
Did you find it confusing?
Well, I read it again. I read it the first time and it didn't bother me because I wasn't really paying attention. I was basically thinking, was there something called Babyface on telly at the time? Because it's like, well, Babyface Finlayson.
I was thinking, is this a rip-off of something like that?
But it's weird because he disguises himself as a baby, but then at the end of the strip...
He's not a baby.
And at the end of the strip, he's a grown man.
But why is he stealing rattles? He's specifically gone somewhere that's got something to do with a baby. It doesn't really make that much sense.
Well, nothing. I mean, it makes no sense at all because they pursue him as he disguises himself as a baby and then doesn't. And then at the end, he goes to get away and gets stuck in a turnstile.
It's just so they can make this joke work. About 3 panels before, the boss says, "Pa, useless pair, you can never make a capture in style." And then at the end he says, "Well, we really made this capture in style, eh, Inspector?" Wasn't worth it.
It wasn't worth it.
It really wasn't worth it.
It's making sports fans sound like an epic of comedic construction, isn't it?
L Cars, this particular episode of L Cars was of no interest to me.
Oh, that's going to be your don't like for your consolation.
It's going to be in the don't like. I have a good feeling about it.
However, can I say one that I thought was amazing?
Go for it.
In Sparky. Amazing in Sparky was Puss and Boots.
Okay, I'm going to take issue with you here. What did you like about this one?
Puss and Boots in Park Lark.
Another story title.
I just thought this was so... Is this drawn by John Gearing, again, who drew Banana Man and loads of the great strips we've seen. And it's about a cat and a dog who inflict massive amounts of violence on each other.
Again, it's really violent.
It's really, really violent.
It's sort of Tom and Jerry violent.
And the violence escalates and escalates. We've got a comedy Parky again in here. The dog...
The dog is the Parky.
Yeah, the dog. So the dog pretends to be the park warden, and so he stabs the cat in the bum with a sharp stick.
Not a knife this time, luckily. More of a stick.
The cat then drops a tree on him.
Yeah.
Rides over him on a boat, and then attacks him with an alligator, possibly borrowed from Nutty Comic, and then drops atom bombs on him from a plane.
And then jumps out of the plane and lands on his head.
Yeah.
And then they fight each other, and that's the end of the story.
That's the end of the story.
But the thing is, internally, to me, it doesn't make sense comedically. Internally. For a start, why does he say at the start, "I'm going to take this apart now. I hope I don't spoil it for you"?
Do your worst.
So he says at the start, the cat says, "Nothing I like better on a freezing hot winter's day than catching a fresh fish paste sandwich." Why does he say freezing hot winter's day?
Well, I mean, later on, one of them flies an aeroplane dropping atomic bombs on them.
The internal logic of it,
I think,
to me, is somewhat lacking.
I would counter by saying, right from the start, it's saying this is the kind of logic this comic strip has.
That is probably right. And I didn't buy into it.
Okay.
So therefore I couldn't really understand the whole thing. Because there's a bit here, the dog seems to change into a footballer's outfit. I was really confused by that. I was thinking, is this the same character or is a footballer coming?
Because he starts off as a traffic warden,
yeah,
and he drives over the cat in a motorbike, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then he changes into a football costume.
And he kicks him out of the park.
And then he changes into the park warden's outfit.
I'm really confused by this constant change of costume. To me, it's just slightly too difficult to follow.
I see what you mean, but I think the idea is this comic is not obeying the normal rules.
This is wacky and zany.
This is wacky and zany. This is like a cartoon sort of thing.
And then there's a massive fight they have, and then they wander home after it.
Yeah, and there's a couple of rabbits watching him leave the park because the park's closed now.
I mean, I liked the idea of it, but it's not like Roadrunner or something where everything is logical. It's really violent and really silly and mad and loads going on, but there's a reason for all of it. And here, to me, there's not much of a reason for it. But you would possibly argue there doesn't need to be.
I don't think there needs to be. And I think this is an interesting thing about this whole comic as a whole, is that there are strips like this in it where it's like, this is mad. This is completely bonkers. All sorts of things are going on.
Yeah.
It's really violent. The way they talk is really fun and crazy. And it looks brilliant, and it's full of invention. Exciting things happen. And then there's terrible old rubbish in it, like Ginger.
Do you mean Nobby? Nobby, the generic mischievous kid.
The incredibly generic mischievous kid.
Yeah. And nothing happens in this.
And Nobby's got like the most Scottish parents that have ever existed.
So if you're listening at home, please go to the page Nobby, okay? I think that's page 15.
Yeah, he'll have you in hoots when you see his new boots. We've already seen his new boots on the front cover, haven't we?
I mean, one thing I must point out about this strip, Nobby, right? What is the father wearing? What is the father wearing here?
The father comes out.
The trousers this guy's got.
He's wearing
that
bright red and white tartan trousers.
They just look like Bionic Man trousers.
They do look like Bionic Man trousers, yeah.
They're just the weirdest. It distracts you from the rest of the story. This thing, not that there is one.
There isn't really a story. What happens in the story is he gets his boots muddy, so he comes home and his mother said, "Oh, you've ruined your shoes." And his dad says, "Okay, you're not going out playing in shoes again." So he puts some buckets on his feet.
He puts some buckets on his feet.
So if you have, as told you, hurry to page 15 and see what's afoot. What's afoot is exactly the same as on the front cover.
It's already been given away on the front cover that he's got buckets instead of boots on his feet.
But I thought this story. I think it's interesting that a story like this is so old-fashioned, and also it's on a page with an advert for Dandy Book, and the advert for the Dandy Book says, "Goosey, goosey, gander. Nothing could be grander than this great fun book." And it's like,
yeah, really old-fashioned.
It's so old-fashioned. Yeah. 1977 is a long time ago. But in 1977, you were getting comics like, well, Crazy Comic was around this time, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that didn't talk down to the audience.
No, but this is like similar like the 50s, and Nobby comic is, whereas this comic has also got things like Beryl The Peril, which is like an old strip, but it's really quite dynamic and fun.
Yeah, and
Puss in Boots is also quite good fun like that. Yeah, but then there's terrible old tosh like this, and also the worst thing in the whole comic for me, Mickey the flipping monkey.
Mickey the monkey brings the comic to an unfortunate close.
Because, like you said, this was based on Biffo the Bear. If anything, it's even worse than the appalling Biffo the Bear.
And very little is said, which is fine. It's a comic. If you can tell a story with just pictures, you're doing a good job.
That's true.
They can't. I mean, literally, very, very little happens in this blooming epic 40-panel story.
He's playing. What's he called? It's like no, you must
swing ball.
Did you ever swing ball?
I was good at swing ball. That was the only sport. The only sport I was ever good at. That's because you could just play it by yourself. No other people were involved. You could play with other people, but I didn't want to.
So thinking that you were good at it is based on the fact that you always beat the competition, who's also you.
I always won. But here we see Mickey the monkey just bashing a swing ball around.
Yes.
With not particularly hilarious consequences.
No.
And there's not even a funny bit at the end.
Yes.
Somebody throws it back at him. That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
No,
he says, "Get lost, ball, I've had enough of you." And then the kid says, "Here's your ball back," and hits him on the head with it. The end.
The end. Hits him on the head. The end.
But what I thought was even worse about this, because if you look at the front page, there's Danny's Tranny in full colour, loads of detail.
What's going on?
The action page, it's almost completely white. Nothing happens. You think you could have drawn such wonderful pictures of this, so much colour. And it's like he hasn't even coloured the sky in.
He couldn't just bothered to colour the sky. He's left it like a sort of 5-year-old would leave it. Just left it almost totally white.
I mean, if they'd said, drawing your own background, so Mickey the monkey, you could have sent that in.
Yeah.
Because I said you could send anything in.
If you'd had Leo Baxendale drawing this, there would just be like hundreds of things in the background.
Things going in the foreground as well, little gags.
Tons of stuff going on. This is a blank. But to me, what's even worse is you read Mickey the Monkey and you realise how truly appalling the story is. But then you cast your eye to the to the edge of the page and it says every Thursday. But
we can't stop him.
but if we leave Mickey the Monkey aside, for heaven's sake, the rest of the comic I think is really good. Generally speaking, I like it. Yeah, I like the tabloid nature of it.
That's good.
I like the sort of variety of it. I thought it was good fun generally, even though it was slightly old fashioned.
Well, this is really. I'm going to go on about this again, but I think it feels like we've been talking about these comics for these many weeks. What we have been doing it now. It feels like this sort of period of comics, things are changing. And there are some comics that are really, really old-fashioned. Yeah, the Beano was old-fashioned, wasn't it? And Nutty was. Yeah. And then things like Crazy Comic are much more, Whoopee. It's like, here's more things happening. And this Topper and Sparky seems to be sort of caught in the middle. You can't decide which way it's going.
Yeah, it is. That's right. But it kept going, didn't it? I mean, this is 1977. It kept going.
It kept going
for a while. I've got information about it.
I'm definitely not checking my notes. I'm also looking.
Okay, now look at this, right? Yeah. The Topper ran from 1953.
Yeah.
So no wonder you said it was a bit stuck in the 50s. It ran from 1953 to 1990.
And then it merged with the Beezer.
Yeah.
For another 3 years.
So the Topper, was going for 37 years.
Incredible, isn't it?
Every week, I think. So that's not a bad run, is it?
It's not bad at all.
For the imagination. But yeah, no, it is slightly 50s, and it's trying to get out of that rut. But I still liked it. I found it entertaining, and I really liked the size of it and everything. Yeah,
I did. But I would like to draw your attention.
Don't keep drawing my attention to Mickey the Monkey because that's you have nightmares.
I liked.
I'm not like Tiny the dog as well.
Dog. This terrifying. So Tiny the dog, the world's biggest dog. It's like going. This
what
is
an idea.
This looks. This is a man in a dog suit, isn't it?
Isn't it?
It's look at the way it's again, readers. You can read along at home by going on our socials. Well, I'll put this up and to give you nightmares about Tiny the world's largest. No,
Tiny the world's biggest dog.
Tiny the world's biggest dog, and he's just this terrifying creature that looks exactly. He's got hands. Tiny the world's biggest dog has got hands.
Yeah.
And he talks and he acts like a human being.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's going on there? This is I used to find this quite frightening. When I say I used to, I mean this morning when I last looked at it.
So let's say now, so what are your favourite two strips in Topper and Sparky every Thursday?
7p. Well, I think my favourite one is Beryl the Peril.
Beryl the Peril.
That was so funny. I really, really like Beryl. And as I think she really works as a character. The way she interacts is great. And then obviously I like Puss in Boots as well.
Because you're weird. No, that's good. I like. What do I like? I like Send for Kelly.
Yeah, that was great.
Because I remember him from reading this originally as a kid. I used to like this Tricky Dicky bloke. We never mentioned him. He's exactly the same as Joker, really.
Yeah, as Roger the Dodger.
But I used to like playing tricks on people. However, my favourite is Send for Kelly, and I would say Danny's Tranny, actually, even though you didn't like it. I quite like that character. There was quite a lot of mileage in that character because it was going for a long time. And the one I don't like is obviously, I mean, I can't even bring myself to say his name now. You know who I mean.
For the purpose of the tape, John has turned the newspaper over.
That's my escape.
Every Thursday.
There he is.
Nicky, the monkey.
So let's turn it back to the first page, and we feel a lot better now.
That's all right. Although we are again looking at metal wellies.
Yes, let's not look at that.
So I think we quite. I was surprised by how much I actually did enjoy this because my memory of it is like this was the last resort. If you got to the news agents when all the other newspaper comics are gone.
Really?
Yeah, you go, all right then. All right.
See, I had a subscription for Crazy Comics, so I was all right.
You were right. Well, I had a subscription to Whizzer and Chips, so that was okay.
But yeah, I think I was given the Topper quite a lot, and I don't know, it has, memories of my aunt giving me this sort of comic, so it's nice. So, Yeah, thank you, the Topper and Sparky. We had a good time
We had a good time enjoying it.
reading you.
So I believe all that remains is for me to hand over the comic for next week.
Here it is.
Although to hand it back because you bought this one and
I
I've been
did,
reading
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So what we're looking at next time then, John?
Whizzer and Chips with Crazy Comic.
With Crazy Comic.
3 for the price of 1 now. 9p this was by the look of it. So we look forward to...
It's only 3p a comic.
Not bad, not
Not
bad.
bad at all.
We look forward to reading that. If you want to write into us, then you can do. And we look forward to getting your missives and your letters.
DREDGEHIBBETT@gmail.com.
Send anything.
Send anything at all. Anything at all, please. Anything that might appeal to listeners of the Funny Comics Fan Club.
Anything that might not. We'll accept stamps, postal orders, whatever
Money,
you've got. That's fine.
anything. £2, whatever you've got.
Lovely. But that's all from us then. So thanks very much for listening. I have been Dr. Mark Hibbett.
He does keep talking about that. And I am afraid I'm just your standard Commodore Garden John Dredge.
Surely Vice Admiral, Admiral Viceroy John.
And for me, Admiral Viceroy John Dredge, a very good night to you.